You mentioned a word earlier on. You talked about the lonely chapter. You said the word briefly. I guess this lonely chapter idea is a consequence of what will happen when you go in pursuit of a big goal. You want to start the business, you want to quit the job, whatever. Explain to me what the lonely chapter is.
The lonely chapter describes a time in your life where you're so developed that you can't really resonate with your old set of friends, but you're not yet sufficiently developed that you've built a new set of friends.
Give me an example.
You have decided to stop drinking. Your New Year's resolution is 6 months, I'm going to stop drinking. You can go out with your friends that want to go to the pub on an evening time, but you feel a little bit ostracized. They're having digs at you and jibes at you. Oh, come on, mate, only one beer. Who do you think you are? So your change is creating some friction between you and them. Your friends like to play Xbox on an evening time, and that's how they hang out, but you want to start going to the gym. But your friends don't go to the gym, and then when you do hang out with them, you're talking about the gym because that's your new thing. And they're still talking about Xbox. So there is a friction that happens as you try to grow. Because if your friends don't grow at the same pace as you, you don't speak the same language. A friend referred to it as changing your dialect so much so that over time you and your friends don't even speak the same language anymore. And it's very uncomfortable because it's tempting to go back to the old life that you're used to. The old patterns, the old routines, the old friend groups, the old everything. And you have to stop doing the things that you know bring you validation in the moment to start doing the things that you have no idea about whether it'll actually work. Like, you're going to tell me that I'm not going to go out with my friends this weekend because I'm going to keep my meditation streak going. Who even knows if meditation works, right? It's so much easier to just stay in the routine that you were previously, doing the same sort of things. For you to pull away from that, you're going to have to do stuff usually that makes you more different, more easy to be mocked, and more alone. And the initial sad reality is that on your journey of personal growth, at some point, you may need to leave a group of friends behind who aren't growing at the same pace as you. But the really sad reality is that if you do it a lot, you may have to do this multiple times throughout your life. And it's not a value judgment about who's better or who's worse. It's just a stark reality of what happens when you start to make changes in your life. And for instance, I met 1 million people on the front door of nightclubs. 1 million people in person. Had a handful of friends. I worked with half of them. 1 million people, handful of friends. In internet marketing speak, my friendship conversion funnel ratio was not very good. 1 million people, handful of friends. And the only way that I could work out who I was to kind of follow my own instincts and do some of the personal development stuff. Like 1,000 days sober, 500 days without caffeine, which is fucking miserable. 9 gratitude meditation journals with no idea if any of it was going to work. And this is the really important thing. And it's a bit that all origin stories miss. And I wish that they paid more attention to it. It seems to me that on every hero's journey, as soon as they make the commitment to go from where they are to where they want to be, their self-belief never wavers. Right? Sure, there's ups and downs in the journey and the progress, but their conviction doesn't slip. It's like at that moment, the clouds parted and I was sure I was going to become a UFC fighter. I was going to become a businessman. I was going to get off drugs, change my mindset, whatever. In my experience, that's not the way it is at all. Like your entire journey of personal growth is just steeped in doubt and self-pity and uncertainty, and it tarnishes the whole experience. It's not sexy. It's not cool. You're like, this is supposed to be my Rocky cutscene. It's 3.5 minutes in the movies, but it's been 4 years for me. What's going on? There's not even the promise that there's any glory on the other side of it. And this is exactly why it's so much easier to just go back to your old patterns. Why it's easier to just go back to doing the old things that you used to do. People make small changes. They do little things. Lose 5 pounds or they change companies. But how many people do you know that have really changed their mindset, lost 50 or 100 pounds or changed careers or moved from the city that they grew up in? It's rarer. And I think the reason that I love this lonely chapter idea is that it names something that a lot of people feel is a bug, not a feature of personal growth, which is this discordance with their old patterns and their old friend groups and the fact that they don't know whether the uncomfortability is supposed to be there. Is this discomfort right? Is my self-doubt? Surely I should just believe and see it, believe it, achieve it. Am I not supposed to just be, single-mindedly going toward my goal? This doubt is supposed to be there. I can promise you that every single person who has gone from a place where they didn't want to be to one where they did has had to go through this lonely chapter and deal with all of this. And I think it resonates with people because the sort of people who listen to Modern Wisdom and your show are the sort of people that this is about. It's the kind of people who live in the UK and want to do something themselves, who want to build a business, do something that there isn't a particularly good role model for. That's presumably because they want to do something. They want to become better. They feel like they're built for more. And this is what I meant when I said before, that you can just do things. Just do it anyway. Do it tired. Do it sad. Do it lonely. Do it without a role model. Because if you're waiting for somebody to come along and give you that helping hand, sometimes you're going to be waiting too long.
It reminds me so much of Jeff Bezos' shareholder letter where he talks about resisting the equilibrium. In his final 2020 shareholder letter said, differentiation is survival and the universe wants you to be typical. And the way that this dovetails into what you've said is your environment is very, very much holding you in place. And actually, in every facet of life, every organism is currently expending a huge amount of energy just to resist the pull to be typical.
Regression to the mean.
Exactly. So if you were to leave your friendship group now, the amount of energy it's going to take to stay untypical is tremendous. And he says, this is my last annual shareholder letter as the CEO of Amazon. And I have one last thing of utmost importance I feel compelled to teach. I hope all Amazonians take it to heart. Here is a passage from Richard Dawkins' book, The Blind Watchmaker. It's about a basic fact of biology. Staving off death is a thing that you have to work at. Left to itself, and that is what it is when it dies, the body tends to revert to a state of equilibrium with its environment. If you measure some quantity, such as the temperature, the acidity, the water content, or the electrical potential of a living body, you will typically find that it is markedly different from the corresponding measure in its surroundings. Our bodies, for instance, are usually hotter than our surroundings. And in cold climates, they have to work hard to maintain that differential. When we die, the work stops. The temperature differential starts to disappear, and we end up the same temperature as our surroundings. Not all animals have to work so hard to avoid coming into equilibrium with their surrounding temperature, but all animals do some comparable work. For instance, in a dry country, animals and plants work to maintain the fluid content in their cells. They work against a natural tendency for water to flow from them into the dry outside world. If they fail, they die. More generally, if living things didn't work actively to prevent it, they would eventually merge into their surroundings and cease to exist as autonomous beings. This is what happens when they die. And what he's talking about here is that to be different in any context or environment, work is being done, to stay atypical. And I think about this as we come into the new year, which is if you're planning to be different, quit the job, go and be the violinist in Peru, start the cupcake business. It's going to cost you so much energy to resist the equilibrium that you better, going back to what you said about subtracting things, you better save energy somewhere else. Because, I had a neuroscientist on the podcast that was the neuroscientist that discovered we have a biological budget of energy, literally like a bank account. And what tends to happen, I think, and why the New Year's stats are so horrific in terms of the amount of people that stick to their goals, is we go in search of a new state, a new life, that's going to cost us even more energy to resist our current environment without budgeting for it by saving elsewhere. And I think about this through the lens as a business owner, because as a company, the diary of a CEO will become like the mean the minute we stop the fight, the minute we stop experimenting, the minute we stop pushing the boundaries, the minute you stop doing the big digital screens, the minute you give up the fight, you will become every other show.
That's what I meant when I said problems are a feature of life, not a bug. There will be no day when you don't have any problems. And railing against it. Why is the flight delayed? Because flights get delayed. That's why. And did you think that there was going to be a day when no flights were delayed? That you were going to reach some escape velocity where this was no longer an issue? I love this analogy using escape velocity. Imagine that we've got a rocket ship here. So When this is taking off, on the launch pad is when it needs the most energy. The inertia is the highest, the resistance is the most. So that's when you need to use whatever fuel you've got. Use the chip on your shoulder from the kids that bullied you in school. Use your desperate desire to be seen by that girl out there. Use your need for validation from your parents, whatever it is. And then what happens is the old school style rockets, not the new Falcon 9 ones. What happens when this takes off? This fuel source switches off and then the booster rockets come on. That's as you get to a different level of altitude. And now you're using a different sort of fuel source. And then this falls away, the bottom falls off, and it keeps on going. And then it gets into escape velocity. Use what you have at the start. And at the start, most people have way more discontent than they do love.
Even this ties right back to New Year's resolutions, because if I am going to make a change and reach escape velocity, then I'm going to need to focus all my energy and therefore save leakage. Like save wasted energy in this moment of time. And I've heard you talk about this when you do your annual review, that, again, it goes back to what I was saying, like you do need to cut some shit and you can't have it all at the same time if you are going to change your life.
This is one of the problems of overcooking your goals for the next 12 months. I think you can probably do two big things in 2026. Two big things. You could probably lose 20 pounds and get a boyfriend that you really, really love. You can't do that and move cities and start a new business and learn to play the piano. No. And that, again, is why don't go into a buffet and assume that however much food you put on the plate, your stomach will just expand to fit it in. Because what you're going to guarantee is that you fail next year. You can almost guarantee that you fail at doing this thing. Is it great to set your sights high? Yeah, that's real cool. And maybe you've got lots of things that you want to do. But just what would have to happen by the end of next year for you to look back on it and consider it a success? And what if you created a rank-ordered list? And we're like, okay, I need to kill one of these. And you left yourself with one or two. What's left? You'd only do one thing next year. Cross that off, cross that off, cross that. What am I left with? I really want to lose the weight. There we go. Now we can break that down into individual steps. I need to get a gym membership. I need to get some cool gym wear that makes me feel good as I go to the gym.
I've heard you talk, you mentioned there getting a boyfriend next year. One of the resolutions a lot of people will have, even if it's not directly, is to find a partner. Mm-hmm. And I heard you referencing psychological stability as the thing we should be looking for in a partner.
Yeah.
What do you mean by psychological stability?
After some sort of emotional perturbment, after something happens, how long does it take for them to get back to baseline?
Oh, okay. So I'm looking for someone who is just emotionally stable, or they return.
They return to their emotional equilibrium, right? So let's say that we're going on holiday and the flight is cancelled and it's a big deal because their family's going out there. Is that the sort of thing that happens and then there is a reversion to baseline within a few hours? Or is that the sort of thing that blows up the entire trip of the holiday with their family? Something occurs that causes emotions to be impacted. How long does it take to get back to baseline? That's emotional stability. And it's very predictive of relationship outcomes. Some other stuff, conscientiousness. Person's thoughtful. They think a lot about you specifically, and they care. Agreeableness. And someone who's moderately agreeable. You want somebody who, when you propose plans, is a yes and person. Like, yeah. And finally, you want someone who's moderately open in openness, personality trait. So there's three: conscientiousness, agreeableness, openness to experience. You want someone who's moderately open so that they're prepared to go and do new things. As soon as you get into high openness, that's when wandering eyes come in. This isn't to say that personality traits are destiny, but based on Tai Toshiro's work, this is pretty reliable. I also like the psychological stability thing. I think that's really, really lovely. You want somebody who feels like home. You want a relationship that feels like a safe harbor that you can wall yourself off against all of the ills of the world. Your business can fall apart, your health can decay, your friends can abandon you, but you know that at home, there's someone who loves you for who you are, not for what you do, and they've always got your back. And I think aiming for a relationship that feels like a safe harbor is a really good idea.
It's rough at the moment, isn't it? I'm so glad that I'm not single, because when I look out at the dating landscape of like dating apps and all this stuff, I'm so glad that I'm not out there in that war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's a lot of single people that follow you, men and women. When you think about if you were 30-year-old Chris and you're a single guy, you're not doing the podcast, people don't know who you are. If you were trying to solve the love problem in your life, where would you aim at first?
I like the love problem. That's cool. The first thing you need to do is say, am I the sort of person who the sort of person I want to date wants to date?
Yeah.
If not, it's obvious where you need to work. Work on yourself.
That's such an important question that requires such honesty.
Yeah. And this again is why some time away from the urgent and the important, some time to reflect, some time to listen to your fleeting thoughts. You know that your wardrobe sucks. You know that your wardrobe sucks. And you hate fashion and you've excused it. It's like, I don't need to do that, or like, I'm not interested or whatever. Hey, dude, I'm sorry. Chicks care about how you look. Shock horror. They care about what you wear. Probably need to go and update the wardrobe. You got a female friend? You watch a few YouTube videos online? Maybe that's where you need to start. I'm a bit overweight. I'm a bit skinny fat. The gym is one of the most reliable ways to increase your attractiveness. One of the most reliable ways as a man to increase your attractiveness. You need to be a real super Chad to not need to have any physical practice at all and still be able to get the sort of woman that you want. So, okay, maybe you're going to start to go to the gym. But let's assume that you have reached the level that you need to be at in order to be attractive to the sort of person that you are. So that's the first one, right? Because if you're not, you're permanently condemning yourself to always pine after partners that aren't going to want you back. Next step. Where do partners like the sort of person that you want to date hang out? Where do they go? Like, if you love dance music, it's probably a bad idea to go to a breathwork class. Like, why not just go to parties that have got dance DJs on? Or if you're really into lectures and philosophy, go to an Alex O'Connor live event or something and hang around outside, or like talk to the girl that's next to you. If you really love sport, like obviously go to the gym, pick up pickleball, like start doing that. Where are the sorts of places inhabited by the sort of person that you want to be like? And there's bonus points if you can go and do a thing that you have a little bit of a competitive advantage at, especially as a guy. If you used to play tennis in high school and you've got a bit of hand-eye coordination, you can probably be one of the best pickleball players at a recreational court pretty quickly. And you're going to be that new guy who's like, oh, like you've seen, like I want to play with him, like he always wins or whatever it might be. Like, not being manipulative, you're just playing to your strengths.
What decision did you make in your life that made you more attractive than any other decision?
Going to the gym. Going to the gym. I started training when I was 18 at the Centre for Sporting Excellence at Newcastle University. I had no idea what I was doing and was taking blueberry extract and unflavored hydrolyzed whey in a desperate attempt to see if I could gain some size. And I just didn't stop. And I like it. It makes me healthier. It makes me feel powerful. It added to my frame. I had real hard gain. It took fucking ages to put weight on. I remember when I was 20 and I broke 70 kilos for the first time. And I was like, I am fucking huge. And I just didn't stop. And I think not only is it something that's great for me, it's something that really very reliably makes you more attractive to women.
What about for women? What do you think, in your POV, would make...
Look, I would be tempted to go for the gym thing too. And the reason that I like it is that you benefit on multiple levels. Like, even what you don't want to do is do something that makes your life feel like a performance for your future partner. You want something that even if that doesn't come along, you're still glad you did it. And how many people say, I went to the gym in an attempt to get better legs because the guy that I want to attract is kind of like into girls that have got good legs and I want to wear like nice dresses and look cool, cute in them and all the rest of it. But I really hated the way that my boyfriend didn't come along and I broke myself trying to do, I lost myself trying to do that. No, you made yourself. You won independently of whether or not that person came along. And how wonderful is that for you? So, I mean, this is just me shamelessly shilling for everybody to go to the gym and get jacked. I think that would be good. One other thing I think that is maybe a slightly unusual strategy that women can cultivate is receptiveness. So I think, especially in a post-Me Too world, a lot of guys are very scared of approaching, guys have always been scared of approaching women. But in a post-Me Too world, they've been taught that anything short of a hell yeah is a no, get away from me, so that you don't make the girl feel uncomfortable. guys already were quite nervous going up and talking to you. So you have to treat a man and his interest kind of like slightly inexperienced golden retriever. It needs to be very loud, very obvious signals of interest from you. So in the Middle Ages, or aristocratic Middle Ages, ladies would drop a handkerchief in front of a gentleman. Oh, mom, oh. In 2025 in New York, there are women stealing Finance Bros salads, finding their names from the salad on Instagram and then messaging them and saying, sorry, I accidentally took your salad. Like, that's the 2025 equivalent of dropping the handkerchief. But receptiveness, I think, is important. Like, hey, ladies, if you like that guy and he's not approaching you, maybe assume that he doesn't know that you like him and apply a little bit more receptiveness. And the other side of this is, if a guy does come up to you and you're not into him, don't mock him or make it like uncomfortable to his face, because you are ruining the next girl's chances who really does want him by making him feel not enough for doing it. It's taken a superhuman amount of strength to come up and say, hello, I just wanted to say I thought you looked really lovely today. What's your name? That was the most terrifying thing that guy has done that day. And if you're not receptive, even if you don't want it, it kind of creates this culture of men feeling broken and like they shouldn't do that more. So yeah, there's some.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.